he said that pre-Constantine, the way that you showed your devotion to Christ was through martyrdom.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
He's like, that was it.
That's a good point.
And he's like, that was the litmus test of like, are you really a true disciple when push comes to shove? Will you die for your faith?
Yeah.
There were plenty of opportunities to do that.
Yeah.
And so you have like this story of Perpetua, who was 22 years
story.
old.
Yeah.
22 years old, had a child, I think a son who was maybe a year old, and she was still breastfeeding, and the child wasn't yet weaned, and she was then put into not the Colosseum, but the some arena to be fed to the wild animals, and her faith in that at 22 years old, really just beginning her life, and her willingness to die for her faith was unreal. And then God did some miraculous things in that. She didn't feel any pain after stopping feeding her child, which was good, and a bunch of other things. And she didn't even remember the pain of dying and of being hurt, because God almost like gave her amnesia in that moment.
Can I pick up on that story?
Yeah.
Because that's a really interesting story, because it's not told by, obviously she doesn't tell it.
She tells a little bit.
But someone's writing it
Yeah.
on her. Someone's writing about seeing her die
Yeah.
and thing. And I think, is it Ignatius of Antioch? I think someone about that is writing,
Yeah.
writes about her dying in the Colosseum.
I don't think it's Ignatius of Antioch, because she was in North Africa somewhere.
Okay.
Ambrose? No.
Maybe someone like that writes, whoever it is, writes
is
the
this
story.
Oh, this is about 3.
She was in Carthage, I think.
Yeah.
This is about 300 or 200.
Oh, no, this is like early 200s, maybe late 100s, somewhere in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you got all this sort of, Polycarp. And
Yeah.
all those
No,
ones.
this is after Polycarp. He was
Okay.
quite early.
So again, this picks up on how Christians see the world, because someone's writing about that. So and they make this explicit. Whoever it was writing about, they make it explicit. They say everyone saw a small girl
Yep.
dying in the Colosseum.
In the prime of her life.
Being ripped apart by lions, and everyone thought how tragic. And he says, as a Christian, I look at that and I think that's majestic.
Yeah.
Because
that's
what
the
I
wording.
see is I see someone becoming a martyr for Christ. So they see the same thing,
Yeah.
but they see it through different eyes.
Mm.
And he says that's what it is to be a Christian, to see the world in a wholly new light. I think there's a deep underlying call to a new martyrdom
Yep.
Right.
in Christianity, and I think that's stuff. I think John McComber and those guys are feeling something of that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think there are. I think God is calling us back to a new martyrdom.
Can you just expand?
Yeah, elaborate.
Well, I don't know what it means.
It might not
I
be-
don't know what it means, because I can
Yeah.
I can feel it. There's a and I don't know what that martyrdom will look like, but it's a in many kind of ways. I wonder if it's a death to seeing the world as everyone else does, and that will lead to confrontation. That will
Right.
inevitably lead to a confrontation with people that we're around. But it's in that confrontation that we hold our ground, that the world is not what they think it is, and it's actually what Christianity says it is.
Right, yeah.
And I don't know what that may lead to, true martyrdom, where we get killed for our faith, but it's certainly going to lead to a martyrdom where we look very strange.
Yeah.
Because I think we've done such a great job of blending in.
We have.
And I think we're getting to a point where we cannot do that anymore.
Yeah.
We need to stand strong on what God is saying. The
A
world
martyrdom
is.
of reputation. A
Yeah,
martyrdom
I think
of
it'll be all
worldview.
of that, and there
Yeah.
will be some who are called to a martyrdom of death.
Yeah.
I think it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, it's true.
That's what I'm feeling.
I don't want
Anyway.
to talk about hot button issues in this conversation, or else it'll be unusable to
Yeah,
post,
yeah,
because
yeah.
we'll have those conversations at some point, but that's not the time right now, I don't think. But it does mean having unpopular opinions
Yeah.
about things that are general consensus topics in culture,
Mm.
and it means being okay with that.
Yeah.
and taking potentially the occupational repercussions for that, or what have you. Yeah.